Hello, my name is Roger Pete. This is my submission for the Sitka in the Studio series. I am a printmaker, a muralist, a writer, etc., etc. I live in Northeast Portland. I've lived in Portland for about 11 years, and most of my work addresses issues of sort of tension between humans and the natural world, and the various struggles that humans are engaged with to try to create a different future for themselves and the world that they have taken control of. So I'm just going to give you a little show around the studio space and describe some of the stuff that's here. We'll see how it goes. So first thing we have is my desk here at the front of the room. Hopefully you can see these things. My desk is an old PSU map cabinet, which is, I was lucky enough to get that when they got rid of all of their paper maps. And this is where I do a lot of my drawing and my general planning and thinking about stuff, art, whatever it is that I'm working on. And here's some mail that's about to go out. Here's my paper roll and some other assorted art bits. This is a kind of a homemade print storage unit where some of the work that I have produced is kept prior to being sent out wherever it's going to go, hopefully. And here's a print that I'm not supposed to show you because it's for a project that isn't released yet, so don't look at it. Here is another desk and table with some prints that I am putting together for an art show at a local coffee shop, Extracto, on Killingsworth. It opens at the beginning of the month of July. And here is a piece of linoleum that I just finished carving. Let's see if I can get a good shot of that. I'll come back to that later, but you can just get a little perspective on that. This table here is storage of various things, lots of paper. My life is full of paper, for better or worse. Over here we have the Vandercook 3 letterpress that I do a lot of my printmaking on. I print both here in my home studio and at a small community printmaking studio on Alberta Street called Flight 64. If you are looking for somewhere to print, we are always looking for new members. Flight64.org. This beautiful machine, I don't know how old it is, but it's pretty old. I've had it for about, how long have I had it now? 5 years. I'm still very much learning how it works, but I've gotten some familiarity with it. It's a real pleasure to use. It's a non-motorized Vandercook, and that's the carriage going back and forth. A lot of these presses have engines in them that cause these rollers to distribute their ink themselves, but here there's just this roller that does the work by hand, which is perfectly fine and pleasant and actually quite fun. Over here we've got my ink shelves with a bunch of random stuff, supplies, some print storage back there, some tools. Down here on the floor we've got some of the blocks that I've printed in the past couple of months. This is a block that I carved for a commissioned illustration for a magazine called The New Republic. It was an article about the politics of property destruction to actually take major steps in pursuing climate action. As an article, a review of a book by the climate Marxist Andreas Malm. It was very interesting. It's very nice to be able to be commissioned to produce a illustration for something that's so interesting. And this is the print of that block that I produced that was featured in that magazine in last month's issue, I believe. This is my drying rack, a saving grace truly for all printmaking studios. It's hard to do anything if you don't have a nice drying rack. I feel very fortunate to have this small one. This is the hammock, crucial piece of studio infrastructure without which nothing could get done. Here is the inking table. This is where, I roll ink out for prints that I am testing. Proofing, we call that in the business. Some books. lots of books, paper. My life is full of paper and books. So up here at the top, there is more print storage, various machines and bits of infrastructure, more paper, various other things, paper, and then over there is some more paper. And that's about the extent of the interior infrastructure of the space. What else can I show you in here that is interesting? Let me see. Let's just go over and have a look at this print again here. So this block, I came up with this idea while on a Zoom call a couple weeks ago. I was just doodling while listening to people talk, and I just doodled this, I wrote this phrase down, and it struck me that it was a pretty good idea for a print, and it kind of fits in with a lot of the other ideas that I have for making art, and that a lot of them are, you know, have a didactic quality to them. Not all of them, but a lot of what I do has a sort of, is in trying to express a very specific message, often a political message, an environmental message, or, you know, at the intersection between the two. So this image, if you couldn't read it, it says "More Land, Less Lord," and it is composed of just that text with a bunch of dryland wildflowers, drawings of dryland wildflowers from the east of the Cascades. You know, it's springtime in Portland. I always like to go to, you know, and walk around in the amazing fields of wildflowers that we have out there in the gorge, to get, you know, a little perspective on what, you know, what the world looks like outside of the gray and rainy seasons of Portland winter. And so, you know, I figured it would be nice to combine, you know, some of these like wildflowers that inspire me every year, and the land that they grow on, with the, you know, the concept of, you know, bringing that land back into the commons, and removing it from the sort of penury of private ownership that distorts our social relationships so intensely in the society. And so, you know, the combination of those flowers with the, you know, with the text is, but this was very satisfying to me. I felt like it was like one of those ideas that just appears from nowhere, and all of a sudden it's just kind of, it's a completed thing. Without having to give too much attention to it, except for selecting the flowers and insects that I wanted to feature in the print. And that's like, you know, that's for me is kind of one of the, when things can be most ideal, is when they just kind of arrive fully formed. I do make a lot of work that is sort of laboriously considered and deeply researched and analyzed, and I value that work greatly as well, but oftentimes for me, things that are just the sort of simplest, purest little ideas that communicate larger bodies of thought are the ones that are most effective and the ones that I'm most satisfied by. Let's see, is there anything else that's worth showing in here? Here's one thing that I'll show just before the end of this video. It's gone about 8 minutes. Over here was this block that I have drawn on a map. This has been a work in progress for a while. Can't really see the details of it, but it is a map of the passage of the uranium that was mined in the Democratic Republic of Congo that went into the United States Manhattan Project to produce the first atomic bombs. And the history of that uranium has been largely hidden by you know, the various authorities of the American military establishment, to the extent of removing the name of the location from the maps. And it has been the basis of a lot of, like, you know, the history of U.S. relations, extractive relations with sub-Saharan Africa. And so I've created this map to show the passage of this uranium, which is actually traceable in the individual barrels that it was in, through the Manhattan Project to the eventual, you know, to the Hanford Reservation, which is quite near us here in Portland, and to the eventual detonation of the bombs over Japan. So there's my rambling studio visit. Hopefully that is interesting to you in some way. Thanks very much for watching.